week 9 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few running backs I have as sleeper options this week. First guy's Devin Singletary of the Houston Texans. It's surprising me that Singletary's out there right now in 79% of fantasy leagues. Was him, Damian Pierce, the last 2-3 weeks have definitely been split, and it looks like in the backfield. I know the fantasy production really hasn't been there for Singletary, but we know he's an experienced running back with a lot of work he's been getting over the last few seasons when he was with Buffalo, and now he's definitely into Pierce's workload, and he's looked like the better back and a better receiving back he is out of the backfield than Pierce for sure. So the last couple of weeks, week 6 versus New Orleans, 12 carries, 58 yards, a catch, 4 yards, and then week 8 at Carolina, 10 carries, 30 yards, 2 catches, 13 yards. So right now, not the greatest of matchups. Obviously, week 9 versus Tampa Bay, their stout run defense, giving up the 6th least amount of fantasy points to running backs on the season. But right now, with 4 teams back on bye, and every week it seems like there's a big injury at the running back position, where it's decimated the position a lot this season, with Nick Chubb out for the season, J.K. Dobbins out for the season, Montgomery's been out a while, Kyren Williams. So with those all added up and the bye weeks here, I think Singletary might have to be a starter for some teams in these 12, 14 team leagues. So as a sleeper option this week, I have him next back, Royce Freeman of the Los Angeles Rams. So Royce Freeman, I know he's not the starting running back and he don't get a majority of the touches, but the last 2 weeks he's been serviceable since Kyren Williams down, and he's at least getting 10, 12 touches per game. Week 7 versus the Steelers, 12 carries, 66 yards. And then week 8 at the Cowboys, 9 carries, 44 yards, and a touchdown. So Freeman, we know, is a bigger physical back than Darrell Henderson, not really a receiving back out of the backfield. And this week here, it's possibly the last time you can use any of these guys, Henderson and Freeman, with Kyren Williams supposedly should be on track to return in week 11. So right now the Packers give up the 7th most fantasy points to running backs on the season. We know if Brett Ryphen's going to start in this game, heavy dose of the run, I believe it's going to be for this Ram team, and a lot of dump-offs as well to the running back. So right now, if you're in deep mode, desperation, Freeman's out there in 75% of fantasy leagues, and as a sleeper this week in the third and final running back I have as a sleeper is Jared McKinnon of the Kansas City Chiefs. So McKinnon, besides one game this season, he really hasn't done anything, scoring 4 or 5 fantasy points at most. But right now, they need someone to step up and catch the football. Besides Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice, for most weeks here is this Kansas City Chiefs team. So McKinnon last season towards week 10, week 11 is where he really got things going, because he finished a solid year, McKinnon, with 56 catches, 512 yards, and 9 receiving touchdowns last season. So right now they haven't used him as much, and rightfully so. Isaiah Pacheco, he's been one of the better running backs all season and consistent guys in fantasy football. But right now, Jared McKinnon, a forgotten man a little bit. Obviously, his workload, or even lining up out of the backfield to catch passes, hasn't been there. But I think this week here, he might be a wrinkle versus the Miami Dolphins. And like I said, both these teams are going to go up and down the field, in my opinion, in a high-scoring game over there in Germany. So right now, McKinnon available in tons of fantasy leagues at 67%, and is a sleeper this week. So that's a few running backs I have as sleepers for week 9 of the fantasy football season.